Two passenger jets, both cleared by air traffic control, both following every rule, yet within seconds, nearly 600 lives are at risk. On March 27, 1977, one ATC instruction turned a fog-shrouded runway into the scene of history's deadliest aviation disaster. How did a single misunderstood phrase lead to catastrophe? And what happened in those final seconds that no checklist could ever prevent? March 27, 1977. Los Rodeos Airport, Tenerife. The day begins with a crisis far from here. A bomb explodes at Gran Canaria Airport, forcing dozens of incoming flights to divert. Los Rodeos, a small regional field, is suddenly overwhelmed. More than 40 commercial jets crowd its single runway and narrow taxiways. There is no space left on the main apron. Aircraft as large as Boeing 747s are parked wherever a gap can be found, sometimes blocking the normal taxi routes. Every movement has to be coordinated with precision. In the control tower, air traffic controller Jesus Diaz faces a workload that stretches the limits of concentration. He is responsible for sequencing departures, managing arrivals, and keeping track of aircraft parked in places never meant for jets of this size. The radio never goes quiet. Each instruction must be clear, every response exact. There is no margin for error. Among the crews waiting on the ground is Captain Jacob Veldhuizen van Zanten of KLM. With more than 11,000 hours in his logbook, he is one of the most respected pilots in the world. So respected, his face appears in KLM's own safety films. The Pan Am crew nearby is equally experienced. Both are flying the largest, most advanced passenger aircraft ever built. Late in the afternoon, fog begins to roll across the airfield. Visibility drops from 1 kilometer to less than 50 meters in a matter of minutes. The runway lights offer little help. Centerline guidance is out of service. From the tower, the ground vanishes. From the cockpit, the world outside dissolves into white. Now every instruction, every clearance, every word exchanged over the radio becomes the only way to navigate. The pressure on every person in the system rises. The environment is no longer just busy, it is blind. On frequency 118.8 MHz, the air crackles with overlapping voices. Controllers, pilots, and ground crews all share the same crowded channel. The result is a storm of clipped words, partial phrases, and radio squeals that slice through the tension inside every cockpit. This is heterodyne interference, a sharp, electronic whistle that erupts when two transmitters speak at once. For 3 seconds, the noise drowns out everything else. At the threshold of the runway, the KLM crew listens for their final clearance. The tower's words arrive, but so do fragments from the Pan Am crew, still taxiing ahead in the fog. The controller says, "Okay, stand by for takeoff. I will call you." But the message is fractured. The KLM first officer reads back, "We are now at takeoff." His voice collides with Pan Am's urgent transmission. "We're still taxiing down the runway, the Clipper 1736. The two signals merge, creating a high-pitched squeal that masks critical syllables inside the KLM cockpit. What the KLM captain hears is incomplete, a half-formed acknowledgement, a burst of static, and then silence. In this moment, the difference between standby and cleared is erased by the noise. The captain, confident and composed, accepts the ambiguity. The flight engineer asks if the other aircraft is clear. The captain assures him, certain that the instruction was given. In the fog, with radios tangled and words obscured, the line between caution and catastrophe is crossed by a single ambiguous phrase. The KLM 747 sits at the edge of the runway, engines humming in the fog. Captain Van Zanten rests his hand on the throttles. The cockpit is silent except for the steady hiss of static from the radio. Outside, the world is blank. No lights, no movement, only a wall of white. The captain's voice is calm. "Let's go." The throttles move forward. 4 jet engines surge to life, pushing more than 350 tons of aircraft and fuel down the wet asphalt. Acceleration pins the crew to their seats, 2.5 meters per second squared, a force that leaves little time for second thoughts. The airspeed indicator begins to climb. 40 knots, 80 knots. The first officer scans the instruments. The flight engineer glances at the captain, unease flickering across his face. "Is he not clear then?" he asks, meaning the Pan AM. The captain answers without hesitation. "Oh yes." In the fog, there is no way to confirm. The checklist is complete. The procedures are followed, but one step is missing: explicit clearance from the tower. The controller, still monitoring the frequency, believes the KLM is holding position. The Pan AM, still taxiing ahead, has no idea that a fully loaded jumbo jet is accelerating toward them. This is the hidden gap in the system, a moment when every safeguard depends on hearing the right words at the right time. The KLM passes 100 knots. At this speed, stopping safely becomes a calculation, not a certainty. By 140 knots V1, the decision speed, there is no going back. The aircraft is committed to flight, or whatever waits in the fog ahead. No alarm sounds, no warning flashes. The only signal is the rising hum of jet engines and the blur of runway lights vanishing into the mist. The KLM 747 thunders down the 3,100-meter runway, engines pouring out nearly 200,000 pounds of thrust. In the cockpit, the captain's grip tightens as the airspeed needle climbs. The Pan Am 747, still lost in the fog ahead, inches forward at taxi speed. Nearly 1,000 meters separate the two giants, but neither crew can see the other. At V1, 140 knots, the KLM is committed. There is no stopping now. On a dry runway, a fully loaded 747 might need 2,500 meters to come to a halt. On wet asphalt, with this much mass, the stopping distance stretches even further. By the time the Pan Am's silhouette finally emerges from the mist, there are less than 12 seconds left. The KLM crew spots a dark shape ahead. The captain yanks the yoke, desperate to climb over the obstacle. The nose lifts, but the main landing gear and engines are still low. The KLM's fuselage scrapes over the Pan Am, tearing open the upper deck and igniting thousands of gallons of fuel. The impact tears both aircraft apart. Flames engulf the cabin. Metal screams and buckles. The KLM comes to rest hundreds of meters down the runway, burning fiercely. All 248 people on board perish. On the Pan Am, the fire spreads rapidly, but a handful of survivors scramble through holes in the fuselage and leap to the tarmac. 61 people escape, among them First Officer Robert Bragg, who will later describe the chaos and silence that followed. In total, 583 lives are lost in less than a minute, the deadliest accident in aviation history, born from a sequence with no room to maneuver and no time to react. After the Tenerife disaster, international regulators rewrote the rules of cockpit and tower communication. The International Civil Aviation Organization amended Annex 10, mandating that only one phrase could authorize a takeoff: cleared for takeoff. Informal words like "OK, stand by," or any suggestion of clearance were banned from critical moments. Every clearance now had to be read back, word for word, before any movement. Controllers and pilots worldwide drilled these phrases until they became automatic. The language of flight became rigid, not for tradition, but because a single ambiguous word had proven deadly. From that point forward, clarity was enforced by rule. Today, every commercial pilot learns the story of Tenerife before ever taking the controls of a jet. The rules written in the aftermath are now drilled into muscle memory, every instruction repeated, every clearance confirmed, every cockpit voice open to challenge. Runway incursions have dropped by more than half since these reforms took hold. In modern training, ambiguous words are flagged instantly, and the phrase "cleared for takeoff" is never left to interpretation. These changes are not just historical footnotes. They are the reason the margin for error is wider and why silent misunderstandings are far less likely to end in tragedy. If you want to understand how aviation safety is built and why every word matters, subscribe for more stories that reveal the system behind the routine. Every time a pilot repeats a clearance or a controller demands confirmation, it's this lesson in action. Safety now relies not just on machines, but on words. In a world built on communication, clarity is survival. The margin remains razor thin, and misunderstanding is never just history.